Hi, my name is Caden Grayson, and I am with Troop 100, and I am a Life Scout. And this is my first Scouting Q&A Live. I thank you for joining me, and I will be the host of today's panel. All right. So my first two panelists that I'll be adding on are Mr. Chris and CJ Lockett. Christopher Lockett is the father of CJ Lockett, who was a Life Scout with Troop 912 on Fort Lee. Mr. Lockett is originally from Georgia and currently stationed at Fort Lee as an active duty service member. In the Army, Mr. Lockett is a Master Sergeant and was recently selected to attend the United States Army Sergeant Major course to attain the rank of Sergeant Major, the highest enlisted pay grade. Mr. Lockett is married to Rona Lee Lockett, who is the Girl Scout troop leader for Troop 5025 on Fort Lee. Their daughter, Kalia, is 9, a fourth grader at Beasley Elementary and a junior Girl Scout working towards her Girl Scouts Gold Award. Mr. and Mrs. Lockett have been married for 15 years. Mr. Lockett's hobbies include cooking, reading, and meeting new people. Mr. Lockett is a lifelong learner and is passionate about researching leadership and business policy as it applies to a new era of executive officers in the workplace. Aside from being a Master Sergeant in the United States Army, Mr. Lockett is a third-year doctoral student with Liberty University pursuing a doctorate in strategic leadership. Mr. Lockett is a proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, where he serves as the local Fort Lee Alumni Chapter Guide White Chairman and the Kappa Youth Leadership Program Kappa League Advisor. CJ Lockett is 14 years old and in the ninth grade at MB Clements Junior High School. He is currently a Life Scout with BSA Troop 912 out of Fort Lee, Virginia. His current role is the Outdoor Ethics Guide. CJ Lockett's adventure started in Okinawa, Japan, when he was a Tiger Cub. CJ has served in numerous positions within Scouting in 3 different locations: Japan, North Carolina, and Virginia. CJ is also a member of the Order of the Arrow Nawakwa Lodge in Chapter 19, Karakona. CJ Lockett is the president of the Fort Lee Kappa League. In his spare time, CJ enjoys playing video games, reading, and watching various history-related documentaries. Please help me welcome Mr. Lockett and CJ Lockett. Hello, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Great, and you?
Good.
Next, we will have Miss Sonya Tunstall and her son, Malaki Tunstall. Sonya Tunstall started her scouting trail as a young girl in the Girl Scout troop from Trinity Baptist Church in Richmond, Virginia. Years later, as a Tiger parent, Sonya was asked to run a den meeting about fire safety and healthy eating habits in Pack 100. This was all it took. The following Scout year, Sonya became a registered den leader and then an assistant Cub master. She helped write the Pack newsletter, let families know about upcoming events, and set up planning meetings. She went on to become a Pack trainer, Heart of the Unit recipient, and joined the Crater District Committee as a district training chair and a district Cub Scout Roundtable commissioner. After her son joined the local troop, Sonya went on to work as the troop committee secretary, got her master's degree from Commissioner College as a roundtable commissioner, became a merit badge counselor for disability awareness, and has earned her wood badge, Go Antelope Patrol. Sonya is also now the Cub Master of Pack 925, which she helped start in 2017 at Friendship Baptist Church, and most importantly, a proud Scout mom. Sonya enjoys cooking, jewelry making, and watching Scouts' faces light up as they learn something new or share their knowledge with others. Malaki Tunstall began his trail to Eagle as a Tiger Scout in Petersburg's Pack 100. He moved forward on the trail, earning the Webelow Badge and the Arrow of Light award. In 2018, he became a member of Troop 100. An active participant in Troop 100's activities, Malaki passed his water review for Tenderfoot on November 15, 2018, and second class on March 21st, 2019. Now, as a member of Troop 923, Malaki has earned 24 merit badges in total. Malaki is a member of Friendship Baptist Church, where he is a part of the youth ministry, choir, and is a junior pastor. He is also a member of the Fort Lee Kappa League. Malaki plans to attend high school next year while pursuing an associate's degree in science. Please help me welcome Sonya and Malaki Tunstall. Hi, how are you doing?
We're great. Thanks for letting us come today.
That's great. Next is Mrs. Rose Hendricks and her son, Andrew Hendricks. She has been a scouter for 10 years. She has held many positions with PAC 360 in King William, Virginia, everything from den leader to cut master and many in between. She then transferred to Troop 360 in King and Queen, Virginia, where she was advancements and membership coordinator. She no longer works with one unit. She's now the district commissioner for Rivers District in Heart of Virginia Council. She is also a marriage badge counselor, a STEM counselor, as well as a supernova mentor for all scouts. She is a BLS instructor and enjoys using it to train scouts and scouters in CPR and first aid. She has also worked in conjunction with Fairmount Christian Church to provide pray classes to youth, regardless of scouting affiliation, for 10 years. On Sundays, she is a team leader for the children's ministry at Fairmount Christian. In her free time, she enjoys reading. She began her journey as a scouter when her oldest was only a tiger cub with PAC 360. Andrew Hendricks earned the Webelos Super Achiever Award and his Arrow of Light, At 16, he is currently a life scout with Troop 360. He is currently a den chief to an arrow den that he has been with since Tiger Year. He is also a member of the Order of the Arrow Nawakwa Lodge. He is currently working on his fourth and final class for the Pray 4-Star Award. In his free time, he loves playing video games such as Minecraft and reading comics. He enjoys art and theater classes. He was in Fairmount Christian's production, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe before the pandemic. Please help me welcome Mrs. Rose Hendricks and Andrew Hendricks. Welcome to the stream.
Hello.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Doing good.
That's great. So that is the end of the bios, and now we will go into the questioning. My first question is for Mrs. Rose Hendricks. Over the 10 years you have been in scouting, could you please tell us some of the biggest changes that you have seen?
I would love to. There's certainly been some big changes in the last 10 years, probably more so in the last 5 years. But I would say the one that I've had the biggest hand in was having females join Scouts. I sat on the council committee and then took that information back to Rivers District. I also attended Scoutmaster training and became a Scoutmaster, so that if there was females in Rivers District who wanted to join but didn't have a unit, I could create a unit for them until we could get one in their area.
Well, that is great. We thank you for all of your hard work. My next question is for Ms. Sonya Tunstall. I know that you are a champion for disability awareness and rights, and what are some ways that troops can support people with disabilities?
Troops can support people with disabilities by, of course, doing eco projects that will help with disability groups. They could learn about disabilities and actually take it upon themselves for their community service projects to do things for different groups that are around the area, and just learning facts instead of believing all the myths and the misconceptions about disabilities.
Thank you so much. And I also would like to thank you for your activism. CJ Lockett, What is one scouting experience that you will never forget?
One scouting experience I will never forget is probably at my current troop when I first moved here. We were in a patrol with a bunch of people that have just moved, a bunch of people that had just moved here, and we made our patrol flag and our patrol yell and our patrol name, and it was cool because we all got to know each other through that and learn something about each other and just bond and form relationships that last to this day.
That's great. Mr. Lockett, what are some similarities that you have noticed between scouting and the U.S. military, if any at all?
So some of the similarities between scouting and the military, there's actually quite a bit. But right off the bat, a lot of it is just taking pride in the uniform. Being a scout means something. So the scouts, they actually take pride in like doing the simplest thing is putting their patches together, putting their merit badges, just taking pride. And they know once they're in that uniform, similar to being in the military, when you're in uniform, you represent VSA. You represent something bigger than yourself, and that's a key similarity to being in the military.
Thank you so much, and also thank you for your service. Ms. Tunstall, could you please inform us on some of the differences between a pack and a troop?
A pack is led by the adults, and it's usually elementary school age kids that are learning leadership based on the schooling that we teach them as adults. A troop has the kids actually running the program. For the most part, of course, adults are there to make sure nothing extreme happens. But a troop is actually run by the boys, so that way they can actually use that leadership that they've learned over the years and lead everyone in the right direction.
Thank you so much. Andrew Hendricks, could you please explain your troop's dynamic?
Can you elaborate on that?
Could you please explain like how your troop works? So most importantly, that probably goes from leadership, what positions have what jobs and different things like that.
So my troop hasn't been around for very long. I think 4 years. So for the most part, it's really just been two people, being the ASPL and the patrol leader. Well, not patrol leader. Senior patrol leader. That's the word. So hard for me to explain words, but I don't know. I can't explain
It's okay. It's okay. We all sometimes we kind of get stuck over our words and we don't sometimes fully understand something or we have troubles explaining something, but it's completely understood. Malaki Tunstall, what is your favorite scouting activity?
My favorite scouting activity would probably be camping or some of the fun merit badges that we had to do. Camping is just really fun because you get to make s'mores and cook hot dogs, stuff like that.
Mr. Lockett, what do you usually do when your child is away on a camping trip?
Celebrate, relax. They're gone. So I enjoy my time. But in all honesty, it's great because once my son go camping, I generally don't attend. My son is a teenager. Most teenage boys, he's at that point, he don't want dad all up in his space right now. So I respect that. And he go off camping and he come back and the skills and just it's just so impressive to see him come back and he try to apply some of the things that he did at camping into his everyday life. And I don't think with me being the helicopter dad that I am, if I was there, he would enjoy it as much. So when he's gone, I'm relaxing.
Would the other parents honestly agree with that answer? Okay, Miss Tunstall, as a Cub Master, why is it important that parents are involved in their child's troop/pack?
I think it's important because no one knows your child like you do. The way that we learn to help your children to make an impact in their life is by you showing us the way. Someone had to show me how to do things with other kids, and I think that's just the best way for parents to help. Of course, many hands make light work. So, of course, I believe that parents need to help because we're all volunteering. And if the parents are sitting there on their phones playing, more than likely the kids are not going to participate. They're not going to want to learn because they want to see what their parents are doing. So, I just think parents overall need to just help us, help you, so that way all of us can get along and have less work to do.
Thank you. Mrs. Hendricks, what are some things or mistakes that you have learned from your first child that you use to help better your second child in scouting?
Know that we have really made any mistakes along the way when it comes to scouting. We've certainly made mistakes, but when it comes to scouting, we've just kind of really gone with the flow. With the oldest one, when he crossed over to the Boy Scout troop for the first year, we backed off. The same thing Mr. Lockett was saying. We figured he needed 1 year without us there to really get his feet wet, really get engaged. After that, we then came in so that as Ms. Tunstall said, so that we could help out because certainly more hands makes everybody's life simpler. And we figured the next group that came behind us, we could help out so that they could take that year off to really give their kids a chance to really thrive in the troop. The other thing being, with there being that age gap, when the first one went over to the troop, I still had one in the pack as well. So at that point, my husband went to the troop activities, I went to the pack activities. So it was one of those, divide and conquer. Now they're both over in the troop. The camping trips, my husband's the scoutmaster. So, a lot of those, he is on the camp trips with them. And, I tell them, I'm sorry, somebody has to stay home and take care of the dogs.
Andrew Hendricks. Well, thank you for the answer. Andrew Hendricks, what are some challenges that you have faced on your journey to Eagle?
I feel like one of my bigger roadblocks is procrastination, just overall not feeling like doing anything for one reason or another.
Malaki Tunstall, what are some challenges that you have faced on your journey in scouting?
It was mostly just knot tying because it was kind of challenging for some of the knots. Well, the easiest one for me was probably the square knot, but some of the other ones are just really hard to get them.
CJ Lockett, if you could describe your scouting experience in one word, what would that word be?
For me, that word would probably be in the broadest word, amazing, because there's just so many things you learn and so many skills that you learn that can help you later on in life, and just so many people that you meet, and you just learn a lot and you get to do a lot that you won't get to do if you weren't in Scouts. So yeah, for me, that word would be amazing.
That is great. Our last panelist has just arrived, and I would like to welcome them. Levi James is 15 years of age. He is in the 9th grade at a specialty center for the arts. He plays the flute and also is learning the piano and piccolo. In middle school, Levi was a member of the Tri-M Music Honor Society, and he was first chair flute for 2 years in a row. Now, as a ninth grader, Levi has been accepted into the all-district band in the position of fifth chair, and he is a member of the high school's marching band. Levi is presently a Life Scout and a member of BSA Troop in Chester, Virginia. Levi holds the titles of Chaplain's Aide and Junior Assistant Scoutmaster. He was previously the Senior Patrol Leader for 3 years. Levi is NYLT trained, and he is a member of the Nawakwa Lodge Order of the Arrow. In school, Levi is a member of the African American Culture Club. Outside of school, Levi volunteers whenever possible. He has volunteered for the local food bank, the James House, and the Alegba Folklore Society. If Levi had to describe himself with one word, he would describe himself as charismatic. Levi aspires to be an aerospace engineer. He hopes that rising to Eagle Scout will assist him in accomplishing this goal. Eagle Scouts are known to be good communicators and influential leaders. They're also known to be very studious. Participating in scouting, although challenging at times, has been overall a positive journey on the road to accomplishment. Jennifer James is the mother of Levi James. Jennifer has encouraged Levi and encouraged him on the path of scouting. Jennifer supported Levi's troop not only as an involved parent, but she functioned as the troop's advancement chair for a few years before passing on the baton. Presently, Jennifer is supporting Levi on his quest to earn the rank of Eagle Scout, which will serve as a rite of passage. Please help me welcome Jennifer and Levi James. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. Happy to be here.
That is great. So my next question will be for Levi James. How have you adjusted to doing scouting virtually?
Well, the way I've adjusted to doing scouting virtually is trying to get my Wi-Fi to work. As you know, today you see that internet does have problems with in-person. Is you don't need Wi-Fi, not pixel on the screen. But it is good because some boys that usually would miss a couple meetings or sometimes would just be absent have now been able to come to the meetings, and keeps you on the schedule, and since you're in Zoom classes for school and such, it's kind of been an easy transfer into virtual scouting. But yeah, so it's been just
Thank you so much. The next question is for Mr. Lockett. How does scouting prepare boys to become wonderful men in today's society?
I think scouting prepare young men to become positive citizens within the society, because even from early on, you got to think one thing about scouting is that everything is earned, and it's not about. And one thing I want to clarify, because scouting do have females, even though they have female scouts, the standard hasn't changed. You still must earn what you get. There's not anything given. And so in society, there is nothing given to you. And I think scouting does a great job on getting that through, everything from the basic merit badge all the way up to your next promotion. You must earn that. It's not going to be given. And as you matriculate through scouting, you're challenged at those board of reviews to ensure that you grasp the concept needed for the next rank. So,
thank you. Ms. Tunstall, have you experienced any challenges being a leader in scouting because of your gender?
Yes, I have. Women, we all know that there is a glass ceiling in a lot of things that we do. And it is unfortunate that sometimes we do have to be a little bit more assertive than we normally would have to be in an association when it comes to men. And that is one thing that I have noticed that I've had to do. I've had to be a little bit more assertive, whether it's for the unit overall or even just for my son. I have to actually work a little bit harder to get people to understand what it is that I'm saying and what it is that I'm trying to accomplish.
Hopefully that will change soon. That exact same question will also go to you, Mrs. Hendricks.
Recently, I have not. However, back when my kids were in the pack, like I said, I used to be the Cub Master as well. And as Cub Master, I can remember a time where we were seeking a donation from a community agency. And the gentleman that had brought the agency to us wanted one of us to go and actually present something to them. And when he realized it was going to be a female that was going, he declined. So we actually ended up not even asking for the donation because I was female.
Oh, I apologize for that. The next question will be for Mrs. James. Are you happy with the things that your son is learning in scouting?
Yes, I am. He's learning a lot about cooperative work. He's learning a lot about collective responsibility. He's learning leadership skills, time management. So yes, I'm very happy with what he's learning in scouting.
That's great. Mr. Lockett, are you happy with the things that your son is learning in scouting?
I am happy with what he's learning in scouting. Absolutely.
The next question will be for all of the scouts. What is it like having your parent involved in scouting?
You're normally the last one to leave the meeting. You're having to wait for them for 3 hours extra.
Yeah, I would say it's nice to have parents involved in scouting because it keeps you on track. At times with other things, like personally, I was doing football and missing one practice out of the week that Tuesday for scouting, and sometimes you would lose that motivation. But having your parent involved in your scouting experience keeps you on that path to reach Eagle, and it keeps you motivated.
Yeah, I totally agree with that because, like, you get a new rank and you're all like hype and you want to keep going, but then give it a few weeks and you're like, oh, I just want to sit on the couch and watch TV. But then your parents, like, you may not like it at the moment, but in the long run, it helps you because they're like, get up, come on, you got to do this. That way you can get your next rank because no one else is going to do it for you. It's you who has to do it.
I think that it's kind of nice because you have that extra help, but you do have to stay like a little longer. So that kind of isn't very nice. But other than that, I think it's pretty good.
My next question is for all of my Life Scouts. What do you plan to do for your Eagle Scout project, or what have you done for your Eagle Scout project?
I'm planning on helping restore a trail that's somewhere around my area.
My Eagle Scout project, what we're planning to do is create an urban garden in Petersburg, which is a food desert. And a food desert is a place that doesn't have access to fresh produce, or like how in our neighborhoods the Kroger or the Walmart is down the road or a couple miles, but in their neighborhoods the closest place to get food is a corner store where they sell or McDonald's, where the biggest selling things are cigarettes and blueberry Faygo, right? So I'm making a community garden that will help feed the community and help introduce them to healthy eating options. And hopefully we're working with an organization that is putting these gardens in multiple different areas in Petersburg so that it will have a lasting effect.
Okay, so one of the panelists, Malaki Tunstall, just asked me what did I do for my Eagle Scout project, so I might as well answer it. For my Eagle Scout project, I actually did it on Veterans Day. I gave care packages to veterans at the local Colonial Heights, American Legions, and a Veterans Association. So that's what I did. So, yeah. The next question is for all the scouts. What are some of the best ways to advance quickly through the ranks? And I know this is probably mostly, I can answer this for the tenderfoot all the way through first class because there are time requirements for star and life, but this especially applies to tenderfoot through first class. What do you guys think are some of the best ways to advance quickly, especially while being virtual?
One thing that I personally did, and as SPO, I pushed this to go for the younger scouts below me, and it kind of is a tradition now, is the new scout programs at summer camps, whether that be Brownsea Island, or I know Brady Saunders has a version of it as well. It really helps them progress and rank up quick. And also one-on-one time with your scouts. If you're an older boy, and I know you have school extracurriculars, hanging out with your friends, but when you're at that meeting, make sure you take your time and you sit down with your scouts, the younger ones, and you pass that knowledge down, and you keep the tradition of scouting continuing. And that's really helped the older boys in my patrol in Brownsea Island help me progress from scout to second class like that. It was, yeah.
One thing that I feel like would help with that is if you just take it at your own pace. Like, don't try to go rush through the entire thing, because if you do that, you're gonna burn out quickly. So if you go like at a acceptable pace, you're not gonna get too far behind, and you're not gonna burn out as quickly.
I think during when you help the dens and the packs, it's really helpful.
I think especially being in virtual, if you look outside of your troop and look at like your district level, like there's counselors who work with everyone in the district. I've found you can get things done faster, especially if there's a merit badge that is not being offered by your troop, but is being offered by the district. You can do it faster, and if you have the time, considering there's no time requirement, if you can do extra stuff like for things ahead of the rank that you're at, like if you're a tenderfoot and you're working for second class, if you start working for some things on first class that are like easy, it can help you get stuff done faster. And I've even seen boys in my troop go from like tenderfoot to second class and first class all in one board of review because they were able to double down and get things for both of them done within the time period between the court of honors.
Another good tip is try to get to first class in a year. That will help you a lot if you're trying to go quickly. Try to get to first class in a year because it is possible. But from there is, I think, a 10-month minimum requirement from star to life. But try to get first class in a year, and that will definitely help you out. My next question is for Mrs. Hendricks. Could you tell us a little bit about the PRAY program and when you are offering it? And why do you think it is important that Scouts participate in the PRAY program?
Sure, I would love to. I'm going to talk about the 4 original classes first. There is a new class for kindergarten and first grade, but I'll throw it in at the end. So at Fairmount for the last 10 years, we hold either God and Me and God and Family, or God and Church and God and Life. And we do it every fall. COVID threw things off this past year. So I've gotten to play with doing it virtually, which has certainly had its positives. You do have the electronic downfall, and the electricity goes out, or somebody can't get on or whatever. But it has certainly let me have students in my class that wouldn't normally have been in my class had I just held it at the church. So again, and this year, just because the way it fell, we had postponed it at first from the fall to the spring, hoping things would clean up. And then when it didn't, I just went ahead and went with it. So this past year, we actually held it in the spring instead of the fall. But come September, we're going to go back to the normal fall schedule. So like I said, there's God and Me, which is early elementary. Then there's God and Family, which is older elementary. There's God in Church, which is middle school. And then there's God in Life, which is high school. Each of them builds upon themselves. The first two classes I did for several years alone, just those two classes. And it was great. But then once my oldest one became middle school, I started introducing the two older classes as well. And I'll have to be honest, I love those even more. Once you get to that middle school age, you're not just talking to the kids, you're actually talking with the kids. They're actually able to talk back with you. The God in Church, the middle school class, is all about denominations, how denominations broke out, the church itself. And it's great because I can have a class where we have multiple denominations in one class. And rather than just me standing there teaching you the differences, we can actually have students telling us, how are things done at their church? How are things done at this church? And sometimes even within the same denomination, you have those differences. So I love it. There's a lot more service projects in general once you hit that age. And then God in Life is now taking everything that you've learned and how does it play out in your everyday life? How can you go into a profession as an adult, or even as a high school student? But as an adult, how can you use that knowledge in you don't have to be a preacher to be able to teach and to preach. And again, how does all of this, and why do I feel like scouts should do this? Because again, a scout is reverent. And I think people tend to forget that. There are certainly troops and packs that are chartered through churches, but there are some that are not either. And for those that aren't, you don't have a preacher there, as one of your key membership. And I just think that people forget that. And, I go back to the 12 core values in general. Those are the values that if everybody had those values, this would be a much better place.
Thank you so much. I can say from personal experience that she is a great prayer instructor, and I actually took her class in spring of 2020 and it was great. I really enjoyed you being an instructor, and thank you for teaching me. My next question is for all of the parents. What changes have you seen in your child as a result of scouting?
For my son, one of the big changes that I saw is the leadership. I don't know if you can really tell how little he is, but when you compare him to other kids in the troop, the other kids his age, he's smaller than the other kids. So when it really came to taking on a troop leadership position, the other kids wouldn't listen to him. Therefore, how do you teach him to be a leader? So he became a den chief. So he went back to the pack and was able to help out over there where those kids are now, wow, it's a Boy Scout. And I really got to see him take ownership of that. I don't even think he had made it out that first year yet when it was no longer the den, it was no longer that den or that den leader's den. It was, those are my kids. That's my den. So we really saw him take ownership of that.
Yeah. I would piggyback on that. I think the number one change that I saw was a growth in leadership. The participating in Boy Scouts offers opportunities to take on leadership roles, and really almost for every scout, because the troop has different positions that you can participate in. So it's not just senior patrol leader or assistant senior patrol, but you have the troop historian. In Levi's case, he was the chaplain, and actually he's still the chaplain, right? Mm-hmm. So he's held on to the troop chaplain position for a while, as well as had the ability to hold other positions such as senior patrol leader, and now he's junior assistant. Say the whole title for me.
Junior Assistant Scoutmaster.
Junior Assistant Scoutmaster. Thank you. So I really like that about scouting, because every boy has an opportunity to lead in some way. And that's an amazing experience for a young person to have.
I've noticed with Malaki, he is a lot friendlier. He used to be a little bit more shy than what he is now. He's a lot friendlier. He will make friends almost anywhere we go, just based off, they seem nice, and we'll just start a conversation with people. Another thing that I've noticed, of course, the leadership, like everybody else is saying, but I've also noticed how he loves just helping out no matter where he goes. It doesn't matter if it's a scout program or whatever. He's known to go somewhere and go help somebody because he sees them need help. Sees them needing help, and just that, I think, was ingrained in him in scouting, and I love that about what he does.
My next question is for Malaki Tunstall. What troop leader, either past or present, has influenced you the most?
Honestly, almost all of them. I don't know which one did that the most, but I don't know.
You don't have a favorite?
I don't think so.
Wasn't your mom a goddamn leader?
Nope, I'm still not gonna count her.
Okay, I remember that.
I'll throw some shade at you.
Okay. The next question, Mrs. Jennifer James. What do you usually do when your child is away on a camping trip?
So in the beginning, because I was one of those parents that wanted to really be engaged, I used to go on the camping trips with them. Yeah. And then I said, I'm a little too old for this. One particular camping trip, it was so cold. I gave up and I went and I slept in my car. I was like, that's the last one. I can't do it. I'm old now. So now he goes on the camping trips without me. And I use that time to take care of chores or, me time, some self-care time, that sort of thing.
This is another question for you as well. What is one thing as a parent that you could learn from scouting?
To let go of the reins a little bit and allow my child to be to make decisions and allow him to be independent. So watch him grow into that independence has been a good experience for me as a parent, because like I said earlier, initially I went on the camping trip because he couldn't be out of my sight, right? So I've learned that it's okay for him to be away from me. It's cool.
Thank you. CJ Lockett, do you want to earn the rank of Eagle? Why or why not?
Of course I want to earn the rank of Eagle. I mean, I've been doing this since first grade. And I mean, I know some people do it just to have fun, but like, for me, like, I wanna like, there has to be an end goal for me, like what I want to get in the end, and for me that's Eagle, because like I don't really know what I want to do, but no matter what you go and do or what college you want to go to or what job you want to hold, being an Eagle Scout on your resume looks good because it shows that you did leadership, you did service, and you had to do a lot to earn that. So it just helps out in everything.
I have another question for you. I'm just curious. How is scouting different in Japan than it is in America?
I remember meeting with like the Japanese scouts because I was in a troop that was on a pack that was on a base, but we got to meet the Japanese scouts, and I have this like like one of these for your neckerchief, but it's like the Japanese one. But I think it's different because considering like Japan is an island, a lot of our camping trips or like outings are like on a beach or something. So like we didn't have like a lot of woods to go to camp, and um we didn't have a lot of venues to do it, so we did it inside of a school. I don't know if that's like different here, but like the trips I've been in, we do it at like a church or some kind of like community area, but we just did it in the school cafeteria. So yeah.
Parents, how did you learn about scouting?
Yeah, through the school. Yeah.
Uh,
We learned about scouting through through the I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Wait, did we cut somebody off?
I'm sorry. Did I cut someone off?
No, ma'am.
So you're good.
Oh. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought that I cut someone off. So that question was for the parents, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay. So we learned about scouting through the elementary school. And I'm gonna stop there. That's pretty much, yeah. I'm good. Thank you.
So if you guys see me and CJ over here just laughing, it is because we found out. So CJ was not nowhere near age appropriate to scouting and everything. We went out to eat at Golden Corral, and we came out, and my wife seen Cub Scouts selling popcorn, and was I don't even know if CJ was even born yet. She's like, "Oh, I want my son to be a Cub Scout," and he was like, "What?" The kid wasn't even. I don't. Were you born?
I was like
He was like
preschool,
maybe
kindergarten.
preschool or no. The lady, she was nice about it, and she was like, "Oh, it's gonna be a while." It was so long that from the time we saw the Cub Scouts, it was like 3 years later. We was in Japan. Of course, he had to start school and then get to the first grade. So this was years ahead of scouting. My wife that is what CJ is gonna do, and here he is. Age 14, still scouting. So that is why we was laughing. So Miss James, that is why I was over here rolling because we was already committed to Boy Scout before CJ could even process what scouting was.
I have a kind of similar, not so international story. My mother met the old Cub Master at a Wawa, and he is from the Army, and just started a conversation with him, kind of like what Malaki does, just starts conversations with strangers. And he told her about the scouting program, and she signed him up. And when it started, she said, "By the way, go take him to Scouts." And that's how I found out about scouting in this area because I'm not even from this area.
I believe we initially found out through a flyer that came home from school. So nothing entertaining there. However, as far as the Boy Scout troop, that one was a little bit better. He was probably maybe Bayer. I mean, so he had been in for a couple of years, but was nowhere near ready to go to the troop side yet. And we just so happened to go to a crossover event where they had the OA actually doing a tap out and a dance, and the TP was there, and it tomahawks, and I mean it was a really big thing. And at that point, he saw that, and he told us that night, "I want to do that. I want to be an Eagle Scout." And he's been going strong ever since.
All right, my next question is for the Scouts. What are some things that you dislike about Scouting?
For me, I don't know, like, this might be like an isolated problem at like camps and sometimes in the troop, but like, I don't know, I feel like in scouts, there's always that like some of the kids, like, they're just like, smart Alex. Like, they can't just chill out. Like, they gotta like say something smart, and it's like, bro, I'm not even like coming for you. What's your issue?
Yeah, probably just like some people's personalities overall. It's not really a thing about scouts. It's about people join the scouts sometimes.
But sometimes that it kind of ruins it for me.
I think maybe the boring merit badges. Some of them aren't as fun as others. Like some of the the citizenships, they weren't as fun as some of the other ones. So yeah.
Mrs. Hendricks,
Well,
what? Oh, I'm sorry.
oh, hey, you're good, bro. You're good.
I'm so sorry. Continue. I apologize.
Honestly, I was gonna say there's not much that I dislike about scouting. And as Malachi, right? Malachi, as Malachi said, some merit badges are kind of less interesting than others, and merit badge counselors, if you have a particularly difficult, should I say, merit badge counselor, it can make the merit badge not as fun as it could.
Thank you. And once again, I'm sorry for cutting you off. What is the Supernova program and what made you interested in it?
I think when you start using words or abbreviations like that, people don't know what they are. Therefore, they tend to stay clear of them. When you explain to somebody that they use technology, math, science every single day, and you give them examples, hey, do you like flying that rocket, flying that kite, flying that paper airplane? Yeah, oh yeah, of course I like doing that stuff. Well, that's STEM. So NOVA is just another step above that. There are two NOVA awards, two Supernova awards that you can earn in Cub Scouting. There are two Supernova awards you can earn through the Scouts BSA. And there are three that you can earn through Venturing or Sea Scouts. There are some of those that once you earn, you can then go to the next one. But all of them, you have to have completed a certain amount of the NOVA awards first. There is an age requirement as well. You have to be first class or higher. You have to earn at least 3 of the 4 NOVA awards. So it's taking that science, technology, engineering, and math and going a step above it. Really anybody can be a NOVA counselor, a STEM counselor, but to be a Supernova mentor, you have to work in the field. You have to have a little bit more knowledge. That being said, I do not have to have knowledge in, so again, you're talking science, technology, engineering, and math. I only have to have knowledge in one of the 4. Which means if Levi came to me and he has already picked out what he's doing for his award, he may be doing his award on one of the other 3, which is perfectly fine because I don't have to be an expert in the field that he's doing. Because typically he's working in conjunction with somebody else. Because again, at this point, when you're talking supernovas, you're talking, again, you've already earned, in order to earn the STEM award, you have to have already completed X amount of merit badges. Now you're going a step above that to earn a STEM award. Now you're going above that to earn the Supernova. So, you're really getting those kids who are just really gung-ho about this. They've got that connection somewhere in one of these fields.
Thank you so much. Our next question has a lot more of a serious tone. and it is for all of the participants. What do you think of the new and upcoming diversity merit badge?
I, oh, go ahead. I think it's good. Like, it's good that they're adding it, but I was talking to my dad in the car like a few weeks ago or like days ago, and we were just talking about it. The problem with it is that like diversity is a broad topic. Like, it's not just black and white or like two races. It's gender equality, sexual orientation, race, and so many things that it has to be all encompassing. Like, you cannot just focus on one thing, and it cannot just be like a half done program. Like, it has to be a full program that actually has meaning and actually teaches you something, and not just like a token diversity program.
The one thing I would say, and this is across the board with any of the things, is, you know, my personal sons have heard me say this, my scouts have heard me say this. You get out what you put in. So we can have training, we can have another required merit badge, but if the scouts here are honest, I'm sure each one of them has had at least one merit badge that they took, that they walked out not having learned anything. So I think we have to be very careful about it just being another one of those classes. You know, one of those classes that if it's not engaging, it's not something people want, they're going to take it because they have to take it, and they're not actually going to get anything out of it.
I agree with you. And I also think that we need to make sure that the right people are the merit badge counselors, people who are really focused and want to teach this. They're not teaching it just because I personally want to teach it because I am invested in diversity training. I'm invested in just making sure everybody's treated equally, just the same thing with disability awareness. And I would hate for someone that teaches that class that does not have that passion that I have for it, and they're just teaching it just so whatever kids they're trying to reach can hurry up and get their merit badge so they can get their eagle.
This question is for all of the participants. So would any of the scouts like to speak on the topic?
I think this new diversity merit badge is very innovative, and it is a sign of the times in a good way. You know, previously stated when we practiced this call, my council, Heart of Virginia Council, used to be named Robert E. Lee Council. And I've seen plenty of adult leaders within at council activities with the old patch on. You know, my mom taught me to pick my battles, right? So I just nod my head and walk. So it doesn't really bother me, but it's good to see that the BSA is being more inclusive and mindful about the issues, especially in today's climate. And you see the innovation with allowing girls to reach the rank of Eagle and not just be Venture Scouts. And now with this new diversity merit badge, making it Eagle required, so it's not just an elective, is a great step forward. So I applaud to the BSA.
All right. Thank you. Hopefully it comes out the way that we would like for it to come out and people take it seriously and understand the importance of the merit badge. The next question will be for the scouts. What merit badge did you enjoy the most and why?
My favorite is astronomy. Astronomy. My favorite is astronomy because it was just fun to launch the rocket into the air. And it was like really nice to get to like they get to click the button and it flies up into the air and everything. It's pretty cool. And you get to keep the rocket, but I lost mine.
Probably the same thing, but like in space exploration instead of astronomy.
Basically, I like all the ones that people don't like. Like, I like all the citizenship because, like, the counselors were fun. Like, they did it in an engaging way, and it was like right up my alley of the topics I like. Like I have like those are my like those three are like the top ones, but I also like dentistry because I don't know, it was just fun and it was different. And then, but like I think actually my top one would have to be scouting heritage, and like a lot of people thought that was boring, but I like to learn about like the origins of scouting, and I personally feel like it should be a Eagle required one because it's scouting heritage, it's our organization's like history. Yeah.
I think I can also add that the merit badge counselor has a lot to do with your experience with the merit badge.
Yes,
Um, my,
definitely.
my next question is, have any of you, this is for all participants, experienced any challenges in scouting due to the color of your skin?
Sure. Yeah, a couple. Um, Recently I went to this merit badge weekend within HOBC, and I was taking citizenship in the community, the merit badge, and my merit badge counselor referred to me as Negro, which, if you don't know, is an outdated term that really isn't in it's not in, yeah, it's not in modern language speech. Negro is a term that was used, especially down here in the South, to make a separation between white people and black people, and African American is a more appropriate term. Just to throw that out there, if you didn't know. But throughout the merit badge, he addressed some topics that were going on about Monument Avenue, and he said not to put you on the spot, which I'm not sure if you didn't know, put me on the spot because I was the only black kid in the group. So him saying not to put you on the spot, therefore put me on the spot. So it's just interesting. And this diversity merit badge, hopefully, I know Ms. Rose was speaking about the adults taking it as well. This would be great because I know a lot of people, that man was particularly older, and I was respectful towards him, but hopefully it could change in the future. This merit that we just talked about, the adults need to take.
I would just like to throw in that I commend you for being above him. That could have given you the opportunity to be on his level. And I think that, again, that's one of the problems we face. One person stoops down so low and somebody else goes just as low. And it really takes, the bigger person to not. So I commend you for that.
I also commend you for your bravery and openness because it takes a lot to come out and explain your experiences, especially because this is live. We don't know what could happen with this or what could go along with this. This could stay with under 100 viewers or it could go to 100,000 viewers, especially because it's on social media. We will never know. And that shows bravery to come out and explain your experience, especially on an open platform where everyone can hear about it. Because especially in this age where there's social media, I understand that there is people that will scrutinize you because of your experience, even though that it is the real raw truth. So I just want to commend you for that. My next question for all participants is actually kind of, any other participants have they experienced any racism? Any other participants before I move forward?
So I don't think that see that we never experienced any racism with scouting, but I did just want to bring up a point, and hopefully something that is taken back to scouting as they do this inclusion narrative. To consider that African American young men are underrepresented in scouting. So with that diversity, something has to be, and it's nothing intentional. Let's be honest, there's nothing intentionally done by scouting. However, um, it can be a bit daunting when we come and we say, hey, we want, like for CJ, and I'll use CJ as an example. We bounce from installation to installation. And it's such a norm that CJ will possibly be one of the bad boys involved in scouting wherever we go. Even in the current scout, it's not the majority. However, he's never been treated different or treated a certain way, but I can understand that within, if that representation is not in scouting, advertising, it's not something that's upfront. So if you're gonna say diversity and inclusion, let's start and look at the total picture. Recreate the total picture. Let's start with the adults. Let's fix the adults. I work with adults every day, and I'm gonna tell you that inclusion and diversity talk. If we can't get it through to 20-something-year-old people, I'm very interested in how they're gonna think they about to get this conversation through to some kids because it is a tough conversation. It covers some very tough topics, and that is not easy, and especially when you're talking about your younger scouts. It's completely difficult. So I just say that inclusivity is going to take a little bit more thought and detail. I don't think it is something they're going to be producing in 3 to 6 months because even the United States Army is trying to figure it out.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was on a council meeting. Now it's probably been 2 or 3 weeks ago. But at that meeting, they were saying that at this point, there's not a date for when it's coming out. They originally had one. Then they came out with the rough draft, and people had opinions, different things to change. So now they're back on the drawing board using that information. So I think that's a step in the right direction. The fact that they didn't throw something out there. They really have taken that, gotten other people's opinions, and going to go back with it.
Well, that's great. My next question, we have a say in it, but it's already happened, and there's not too much that you can do about it. But what did you think of girls joining scouting, and what was your experience with females in scouting?
Well, personally, I think it's a great opportunity to allow females to reach the rank of Eagle. And I know how CJ was talking, and I'm pretty sure everybody here understands how important the Eagle is in our social environment. I know a lot of great role models of mine that were Eagle Scouts and excellent men and, women weren't allowed back then, but excellent men. And they've taught me many life skills that I keep in my skills tool belt, and they were Eagle Scouts. So it's a great thing to achieve. And I'm really glad that females are now allowed to join scouting. And my personal experience with it, because my troop, we do the rifle shooting merit badge, and we allowed a female troop to come and shoot with us. And we also donated some gear to them, to a new female troop that was starting in near around us. But at camping trips, they do keep us separate, which is great. That's how it's supposed to be. But at one winter camp, the Girl Scouts got to sleep inside of like a barn or something. And I was SPL at the time. And one of my scouts said, "Oh, that's not fair." And I told him, I said, "Son, sit down, okay? Because it's not about fairness or not. All right, it's they're allowed to do that for certain reasons. I wasn't gonna break it down for him right there, but I told him that you want to camp outside, you're gonna camp outside, right? But less hesitant, and I think that's about in the house. Some conversations that have to go on, but I do try to teach them there are differences that have to be laid.
mean, I think there's definitely a time and a place. You know, on a Cub Scout level, most packs are family packs anyway. You know, our packs have always been, I don't care, brothers, sisters, cousins, everybody's at the Pinewood Derby. Everybody's at the Cub Mobile. You know, you don't have this little single person tent. You got this, you know, monstrosity of, you know, thing that looks like it's bigger than my house is. And it's like, dude, really? But that's how Cub Scouts are. So it's okay that, you know, your girls and your boys are kind of all mixed together. But once they get up into that middle school, high school, there does need to be that separation. But they can each learn from each other as well. So it doesn't have to be two completely different organizations. There can be one event where they're together, you know, rifle shooting. You know, they come together, but they don't have to be together all the time. And I do think, you know, when that was first announced, yeah, there were certainly people who rolled their eyes and, you know, people who left scouting because of it, because they felt we were going to dummy the Eagle process down. Oh, an Eagle's not going to be what an Eagle used to be. Well, like Mr. Lockett mentioned earlier, the requirements didn't change. The female scouts are required to do the exact same thing as the male scouts. And sometimes, because of some of the discussions that we've already had, those girls have to fight even harder because they have to prove that they're worthy of it, that it wasn't just handed to them, that they really did have to work for it.
I also want to say I'm happy that girls are able to join the BSA and Girl Scouts and the GSUSA. Girl, there's a Gold Award. That is their version of the Eagle Scout Award. It's the Gold Award. And you'll be surprised how many people do not know about that Gold Award. We know about it, of course, being in Girl Scouts, knowing Girl Scout leaders, things like that. But when you hear Eagle Scout, everybody automatically knows that term. But if you say Gold Award, they're like, what's that? What's that a part of? What did you do? There's a lot more questions. So the fact that girls can get and I'm not saying the Gold Award is less significant than the Eagle Scout Award. What I'm saying is I'm happy that girls have the chance to earn an award that is more recognized, to show their accomplishments, to show their leadership, to show their commitment to everything that they've done, that everybody else gets a chance of, that everybody else gets recognized for. And I think that's a great thing.
I have a question. Did anyone oppose the idea just to get two sides of the story? Why some people okay.
Caden, you will not get me beat up on this. No, sir.
Well, if you would like to share your experience or your story about it, because I think that it's important to hear two sides of the story. And that's when you come together and hear one and two sides. That's when things work out best, because it's not always one-sided and biased. So hearing two sides to why some people disagreed with it and why some people agreed with it, I think that's important. That's an important part of coming together. And inclusion is hearing both sides to why and why not, for or against.
So I will give you my logic behind why I don't think it is a good idea. So here, the Eagle Scout Award, when a young man show up onto a college campus and they see that this person earned an Eagle Scout and they put in the work for it, they say, oh, great. Why? Because it's hard to find a young man that have actually committed to community service, have actually dedicated themselves, that found themselves say, hey, I'm focused on this. That is very rare when we talk about boys, because we all know boys are mama boys and great little boys from 1 to about 14. And then we find out girlfriend, then we find out all this other stuff. And now it's trying to, hey, boy, I need you to focus. It's such a challenge to get a young boy to focus. So when he show up on college campus or he show up to a job and he say, I got an Eagle Award, they're going to look and say, oh, wow, you work for okay, because they know they earned it. My fear is that when a female show up and they got the Eagle Award, Are they going to get that? Or are they going to get, oh, you're that girl? And that is my biggest thing, because they're not going to be, they're going to automatically be labeled. Why didn't you do Girl Scout? Even if you got to explain Gold Award, why didn't you do, oh, you want to be that. So you're that girl. And I think it make it difficult for them, because every cancel culture, the current environment that we're in right now, women have it hard as it is. And don't you dare be a Black woman with the Eagle Award, because now you're going to be the angry Black woman. You're the Black woman that goes against the grain. You just, and I feel like my daughter, my young Black mixed daughter, she will not. And that, for that reason, I want her to have the same opportunity. If we got to write a whole expose explaining what the Girl Scout Gold Award is, for her to get the same treatment, we will do that. But she's already got it bad enough. I don't want to add on. I think as time goes, maybe, and as adults, we know the real background of why BSA went with the girl. Let's be honest, it was not because it was the right thing to do. We know the story. And that girl, they did not do justice by that. I mean, you already had Venture and all these other programs, but that is my thing, is the long-term effect. And that's why I was leave it at, because I'm really passionate about that. So
I could tell you're passionate by the way that you said that. And I'm going to be totally honest. I'm completely agree. I was not with it at first, but it is what it is at this point they're in. But I would like to share an experience. And this kind of spoiled a lot of my camping experience. At Camp T. Brady Saunders, there was one girl that I swear on my life that 10 boys liked. It was just, I don't know what it was. 10 boys liked this one girl. She only liked one of the 10 boys. I promise you, everybody wished they were in the same class with her. It was crazy. It was a crazy experience, but I think that is something that naturally is going to happen. When you put girls and boys together, especially between the ages of 11 and 18, that is just what's going to happen. So I think they could pretty much, I think you could predict that happening, but it just spoiled to a certain degree, because instead of a brotherhood and a friendship, all the boys and scouts were more focused towards that individual female. And the funniest part was she was only focused towards another boy.
and and be honest, there is nothing wrong with having something specifically for boys and specifically for girls. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I say that in the context. Yes, that's it.
I'll say that we experienced something similar with our troop, as you explained, Caden. However, it was before girls were even allowed in. They went to a public lake, and there was some girls on the lake. I mean, you couldn't shut the lake down to, other people. And all the, it was to the point that the scoutmaster kind of had to pull the boys aside and say, look, she's allowed to be in this lake without having y'all follow her around. So I will have to say that even without girls in the BSA, you still had those experiences. If you went camping in a public place, you did anything. And the reality is there has to be that training, whether it's at home in scouts, if it's not at home, that boys do have to be able to go to a public place and know the right way to act. I mean, they have to learn that they can't follow that girl around. They can't get mad at, their friends because she likes somebody else. You really do have to learn, okay, well, at some point I'm going to be a grown up. I'm going to interact with people of the opposite sex. I've got to figure out how to deal with this.
But the flip side to that is, and I have a daughter, but if my daughter wears something, a boy might say, oh, she's hot. Oh, she look nice. And is that offensive? It can just open up a big ball of one. We're talking about young boys that are growing and developing. Not saying to go and go crazy with it. However, I just think that it's more of a risk to put young girls in that hormonal environment with young boys that are developing than it is to say, hey, this is just for boys. You boys get to let your hair down and be boys. So that's just my thought.
I say with a lot of the organizations, you kind of treat them like you would church camp. Churches have certainly had boys and girl activities long before scouting did. Girls wear one-piece suits. You wear a t-shirt. You're allowed to put those rules in. When you start dealing with the public, you can't. So now that girl who's out there in the bikini that's barely covering up anything, I can't tell her she has to put clothes on. Well, in my female scouts BSA troop, I can. So I think it's a better environment for the boys than in the general public.
Am I the only one? How many people feel like allowing girls into scouting was a political move?
To a certain extent, yeah. I mean, I think any change that comes from a reason, whether it's one person or whether it's one group of people who things have to change, right, wrong, or indifferent. And if they can get a big enough movement behind them, some of it's also money. As membership decreases, how can we get our membership back up? Well, if we open it up to more people, now our membership will go back up. Some of it's, as different groups fold, they see that as their way of, what can we do to fill in that space? Some of it is, like I said, in a Cub Scout world, you already had that. You've got people today, as opposed to, 15, 20 years ago, where time is money. I don't have time to take two kids to two different events, but I can go to one event that both of my kids can go to. And now you've got both of my kids. So I think there's many reasons. Yes, I do believe politics is a portion of it. I don't think it's the whole thing, but I certainly believe that politics is part of the reason why every change happens.
I just wanted to welcome Mrs. James back to the stream, and I hope she is feeling well. So you're welcome. The next question is, this is especially for the scouts and leaders in scouting. What is the number one issue that you see in most troops, and how can these issues be fixed? I'm going to go ahead and say, from my personal experience, I think it's leadership.
I've seen that, like, when people go up for elections, they give that whole spiel about vote for the person's, like, abilities and not because they're your friend. But, like, in all honesty, I don't think that works, because when the same person is getting voted in and they got friends, but they're not even, like, good, they're doing nothing to contribute, then it's like, so are you actually voting for their ability, or are you voting them in because they're your friend?
Yeah, well, CJ, that happens a lot. Popularity contest. I mean, even you could look at any election. It's popularity contest. That always has. I mean, humans. That's just how our brain is wired. It's always going to come down to that, even if it's subconsciously. But for me, the biggest things is, as Caden said, leadership. And then I would also add to that communication, because I've seen a troop running around like a chicken without a head, the campsite next to you, almost as if they let the kids start the fire, they burn camp down. That's how crazy it is. And at that point, one time at a summer camp, my adult leaders stepped into their camp, and set them straight. But they shouldn't have to. So leadership and communication are big players in some issues with scouts. And that may be because these men are volunteers. They're either new fathers coming into scouting, or they've been scouts. Scouting is part of their family, but they are volunteers. And when somebody's volunteering their time, and not getting paid, you really can't filter who comes in, should I say. Yeah.
I would agree with Levi as far as communication. Communication is a big one. Communication between the different adults, and between the adults and the kids, and the kids and the adults. And that kind of goes into that last thing that he was just mentioning, the volunteerism part of it. And Ms. Tunstall mentioned, the many hands make light work. All of that definitely goes together. You get this little group of volunteers, they talk about 20% do 80% of the work. So you get those couple of people who are doing everything. And the thing is, they may not even be doing it because they want to do it. They may be doing it because if they didn't do it, it wouldn't get done. Therefore, they're burning themselves out in doing so. Now, some of that is communication. Some of that was that brand new parent who knows nothing about scouting, who certainly could not become the Cub Master or the Scout Master, but if you gave them one task, hey, could you do this? And as a commissioner, that's what we teach. Give them one item. Give them something small, something that has a time frame. You know, I just need you to call these people for this event next Saturday. And then, you know, once they realize how easy that was, you can now, well, could you do it again for next month's event? And then you can keep building on it. So again, you know, the communication as far as what's expected, but also sometimes people not knowing, you know, they see people, we have the same problem when it comes to the ministry departments at church. They see everything flowing very smoothly and they just assume, oh, well, then they don't need my help. And the reality is behind the scene, you know, their hair is burning because, you know, it's just, you know, chaos, but they're making it look like it's running smoothly.
I also think I know you said different types of communication. I really enforce that different types of communication. I believe in communication and everything, but I also believe there's different types of leadership. And that's what a lot of people have their differences come in, because my leadership style may not necessarily work for everybody, and somebody else's may not work for whoever I deal with. That type of leadership, if that is not understood or recognized, then that becomes a problem all on its own, and it can lead to other problems. And that's one of the things that we have definitely seen over the years.
I would like to add on. I think that one of the biggest problems is I think it is leadership. And when people keep leaving the troop, they join just to join and say that they were there for a little bit, just because like their friend asked and they're like, oh, it's not for me. So I think it should be more interactive and more games and more fun and stuff like that. There's a lot of people, they just did it for the games. But then after the games ended, they just didn't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm. I have a question. When you join scouting, do you have to sign a contract requiring you to go to a certain amount of meetings? I can tell by that face that is a no. Okay. Okay. But yeah, I think it's leadership plays an important part of it. And I think that also goes to that I'm not even gonna try to say the word because I can't pronounce it, but I know what it is. That volunteer aspect. I know a lot of leaders, especially in personal experience, have STEP. And I think that is important, that if you are going to volunteer, understand that you are not getting paid, but try to give your all or try to give as much as possible. I understand that people are busy and different things like that, but leaders, especially when they're volunteering, sometimes may feel as though they don't have to give their all to the boys, and that can also affect their experience in scouting. For instance, if a scoutmaster just allows scouts to pass through from scout all the way up to a life or life a star, and then never really do the requirements, that affects them as a scout. And that affects their growth opportunities and their experiences in scouting. So I think it's very important that leaders, because you're only as good as your leader and you're only as good as your weakest link. So I think it is, but it's particularly in scouting, it's most importantly your leaders, because those are who you learn from, especially in Cub Scouting, because adults have a huge part in that. And then when it goes to Boy Scouting, your scout leaders have a huge part in that. So I think it's important that you put all of your efforts towards doing something or volunteering for something. So I think that is a huge important part of issues with troops, is their leadership and their especially adult and scout leadership.
The one thing I'll throw into that is people's situations change. Megan, when you're talking the kids in a troop, you're talking ages 11 to 18. That's 7 years. In 7 years, I may not have the same job as I did 7 years ago. There are so many different dynamics. We may not live in the same place we lived in 7 years. Especially the Locketts. Being military, he could be up and move next week, next month, next year. So I feel like once you're in that position, it's really hard to get out. There's nobody to relieve you of your duties. People are expecting you to continue. So I will throw that in. I may have been able to give my all the first of 7 years. And okay, now keep in mind, I've got 7 years with him, but I've got another child behind him. So it's not 7 years, it's 10 years, plus the 7 years that we did in Cub Scouts. So when it's all said and done, provided I'm still a Scouter in the end, it's 20 years. And I know that from different levels that it's just really hard to get out. And again, not that I necessarily want to get out, but there are certain, times that I just feel like, what, I need a break. My husband's a Scoutmaster. Like I said, he started our troop. So, to start up a brand new troop's a lot of work. And you do, if there's not those more leaders, if there's not, as the kids come up through, from the pack to the troop, you've really got to get those people in. Like I said, whether it's one small little job and then eventually get them, you've got to have a succession plan. And have a succession plan knowing that anything can change. I picked on Lockett because he's in the military. He knows his situation could change, but the reality is mine could too. I don't have it planned, but it very much could change. There could be a death in the family. There could be a divorce in the family. There could be a better opportunity in another state for a job. Anything can change. And again, we as the volunteers have to keep that in mind. But even if you're Scout, even if you as the parent are not in a adult leadership position, you need to keep that in mind of your Scoutmaster, of your other leaders. Anything can change in their life, whether it's a long-term thing or maybe it's just a short-term. COVID. I've had, being on a district position, I've talked to each of the units. We've had several of our leaders who have had COVID. If they haven't personally had COVID, their families have had COVID. Churches not allowing Scouts to meet. There's just so many changes, and that we all have to, lend that hand. Even if you're not an actual leader, be willing to step in, be willing to help. There are certainly some people who will walk up to a leader and say, hey, what can I do to help you? But there are some that won't. And as a leader, we have to walk up to them and say, hey, can you help? That whole delegation.
Yeah, that is a good point. Another thing, because I know there's like a scouting blog. I don't know exactly what it's called. And I see a lot of times, a lot of scout leaders ask people like, what should I do if I'm stuck in this situation where I want to quit, but I don't know if there's anybody else to keep the troop alive or to take my position? So I have seen that a lot.
I have very much seen that. You also see sometimes it's not true. Sometimes there are younger families, younger leaders who would be willing to step in, but don't, because they feel like the person in charge, oh, they've got it, they don't want to leave. Reality is some of the older leaders, their kids have gone. They don't even have a kid in the troop anymore. They've been put their kid through. They've been put their grandkids through. They're still there. It's not because they wanted to be there. It was because nobody ever said, hey, I'll take that from you.
That is true. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that is true. And I was just telling CJ, in some instances, that can be the problem, though. Because like for us, and I get it, we bounce from military installation to military. Sometimes we get a bunch of people that may have retired in that area and they don't have kids involved in troop, but they're so stuck in the old way, they're not willing to try new things. And so you get volunteers that want to volunteer to say, you know what, I see how y'all have already clustered together as a clique. And so I don't want to be part of that. I'd rather just step back and monitor. Not saying that is my personal feeling, but I can see how that occurs, especially when you're talking about an established program that's been around for a while. They already have the inner workings. And if there's not a mediator in between to say, hey, let's allow new talent to come into it, then you have an issue, especially when we're talking about people, your great grandkids came through this troop. It's like, okay, I love you. I think you're a great advisor to the troop, but perhaps running this troop is not the best thing if 3 generations done been through on your watch. But that's my personal opinion, and I commend all of you all on what you do for scouting, because I don't volunteer for scouting because I just don't.
Yeah, I perfectly agreed. I've certainly seen that. And I think the important part is to not make them feel like you're kicking them out. Use that word advisor. We would love for you to stay on in an advisor role. We've got one in our troop who has put his grandson through. He is a great resource. Somebody, I don't remember who, was talking about knots and how knots was not his thing. Ours, knots is his thing. He will come through and teach anybody anything when it comes to knots. But he's also, he'll tell you he doesn't want to camp anymore. So he kind of, he does. He's now in that advisor role. He's there for meetings. He's there for our support, but he's not the scoutmaster. Not that he ever was, but I'm just using him as an example. He loves to be there. And the thing is, he was my son's den leader back on the Cub Scout pack side. And he told those kids, I will see you to Eagle. And the 3 kids that are the oldest in our troop is my son and that group that was his kids. So there was 5 and there's still 3. One of them just did his Eagle project. The other 2 are both life. So they're right there. And he did, he tried backing down several years ago. And one of the kids reminded him, you told me you would be here till I made Eagle. And he said, I sure did. And man of my word, he said, so I will be here till you make Eagle.
I do want to add, but you're absolutely right. But this is part of the reason why they have that talent survey. So you can see who has what talents, who has what knowledge, who has what interests. I mean, it's almost 2 pages worth of questions that they ask you. So as a leader, we are supposed to hand this out, but not just hand it out. We're also supposed to look at it to see. That's how I got involved. I do not work in the fire department, nor do I work in health. But because my family has a history in both of those, that's how I became the instructor for that class. Also, it showed on there that I was a student teacher back when I was in my teenage years. Oh, well, between those 3 things, she should be great. And that's literally what got me involved, because somebody took the time to look at that survey. But that's part of leadership, not just handing out the forms and saying, here, fill this out. You have to look at it and almost analyze it to see what's going to help you guys to do what you need to do to get the troop moving. And I feel like some people do not do that. I'm guilty for it. I sometimes forget to remember to look at the survey when it comes to certain things because I'm so focused, but we have to get on the page of remembering that we have other people that can help us to help the unit. And that just goes to leadership to me. That's all.
If you could change one thing about scouting, what would it be? It could honestly be anything.
Glass ceilings. If I could change one thing about scouting, it would be glass ceilings. I feel that there are glass ceilings within scouting period, whether it's GS, USA, or BSA. I feel that there are glass ceilings for everyone. And if we could break those glass ceilings, I think all the organizations would end up better.
The only thing I would say, and again, it certainly is not unique to scouting organizations at all, nor is it specific to BSA, but them and us, especially when the BSA first started letting Girl Scouts in, it became a rivalry between the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts. Why? Why can't we work together? Why can't this be scouting? Why can't this be for the youth? Why does there have to be a separation at all? And like I said, that certainly is not unique to scouting, nor is it unique to the BSA. But there's just always that separation, regardless of what it is.
Would any of you like to add anything on?
I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Well, actually, I can. I think maybe look at how, like, the people who teach merit badges get that certification, because I've had some counselors, like, I guess, like, they have certain merit badges they're good at, but then they have other ones that they just have because they have the certification. But then you go up to them and ask them to teach it, and they don't know what they're teaching. Like, all you're doing is sitting there using that workbook and writing everything down, having to do the stuff on your own. And I feel like the role of the counselor is to kind of help guide you through, but some of them, like, they don't even know what they're doing. So you're just writing in the notebook, then turning it in like it's some sort of school essay.
So I can speak to that. Literally just had that in the last month. I sat as a proctor in a merit badge, and the instructor didn't know the material, and he freely admitted to me that he didn't know the material. Somebody else, but it was one of those, he was asked to help, and how can you say no to helping? That being said, as the proctor, I really am a merit badge instructor to the exact same class. I just didn't know they needed an instructor. So once he knew I knew the material, so we had been talking during our lunch break. When we came off of lunch, he would put up a slide and he'd go, and honestly, I don't know what that means. Ms. Hendricks, can you explain? And I did. And I felt like, again, now that being said, that was the January winter merit badge virtual classes. In February, I was the instructor of, it was a different class, but I taught. So again, there are instructors who teach because they really do have a passion. There are teachers who teach and they have the material, but they're not very good teachers. And, the thing, reality is they're not a teacher. There are certain professions that aren't used to dealing with public. So they can be that, if I never talk to a human being, I'm going to act differently. If I never interact with kids, I'm going to act differently. Maybe I can talk perfectly fine to a grown-up, but I don't know how to talk to a child. So I can give you the material, but if you actually want to talk to me, I may not know what to do about that. So it is. You've got a little bit of all of it. I truly believe those best classes are the ones where your counselor does have the passion. Which are going to be the one, honestly, I think they're going to be the ones you go out and find. I think when you're talking about doing them in a large scale setting, whether it's at a camp, whether it's at a virtual camp, it's a matter of check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark. For both the kids and the adults. I think your adults are looking for, they needed help, I'm here to help. I'm helping to the best I can. And for the kids, it's, I just wanted to get this merit badge done. Whereas if the scout actually finds you, and I've certainly had some, who have actually called me up, hey, can you counsel me? I think those are so much better. But again, it goes into what I mentioned earlier in this, you get out what you put in. If the scout wants to learn about it, they're more engaged, they're going to ask more questions. I just think it's a better class.
Out of curiosity, Do you think scouting leaders and merit badge counselors should take diversity and inclusion training?
Most definitely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Could you explain why?
Okay.
Honestly, for me, I believe diversity and inclusion should be a requirement for life. You're never, I don't care if you're in a traditional Black neighborhood, which is what I grew up in. My school was not traditional Black until I got to high school. So I had to learn about diversity and inclusion starting from kindergarten to finally going to a high school that looked like my neighborhood. That's something that you need to experience to understand the way the world works, because you're not going to always get stuck in a group that looks or acts like you.
I would just add on it, as much as I am an advocate for diversity and inclusion, I think it just comes down to a matter of dignity and respect. Let's focus. I don't care, because let's be honest, you can't change my perspective on anything that comes to diversity. You can't force me to be inclusive to something that maybe violate my religious preferences, may not align with my personal values. Just because I don't like it, and just because I don't think that is important, does not mean I need to treat people any different. I can still have to treat people with dignity and respect, regardless of their race, regardless of their color, regardless of their gender preferences, whether it's sexual. It doesn't matter. And that's what I think has to be the focus of teaching young boys and adults, is that everyone is entitled to dignity and respect. Point blank, period.
So you think that the training may be a little bit too much, but just make sure everyone respects and shows dignity to the scout. But the training may be a little too much for the leader.
Because diversity and inclusion is going to be biased amongst the facilitator. You can't write that script. Because if you write the script for somebody doing diversity, somebody that you know is a racist trying to tell you about being diverse, we gonna smell that cat a mile away. I'm gonna look at you and say, I don't even believe nothing you up here saying. So you can say that script. But if you teach people how to be accepting and treat people with dignity, you cannot like the color of my skin and still treat me respectfully. And I will probably never know that you don't like me. It's no different than when I'm in a store and somebody's being completely rude in front of my family. I can go all in on them, but out of respect for who I am as the head of my household, I'm going to handle this with dignity and respect and going to move on out.
I completely agree. So there will be a training that all leaders are going to. So it's not a matter of do we think they should, they are going to. It will be a requirement. That being said, not every parent at a meeting, especially when you're talking Cub Scout, because every Cub Scout typically has a parent there, but sometimes even on a troop level, not every parent there is a leader. Therefore, not every parent there is going to have taken this training. As Mr. Lockett mentioned, there's a lot of things that you can't change. As a grown-up, yes, as a child, you can kind of sway him one way or the other, possibly. Once we get to our age, we're not quite as easily swayed. We've already got our minds made up about things. But as he mentioned, respect. I am a big believer in you don't have to agree with me. You do have to respect me. I tell that to my kids all the time. I said, if I tell you the sky is purple, you can think in your head, man, she's crazy. But to my face, it's yes, ma'am, sure is. I'm the parent. I get respect. I don't care. You can not like me, but you're going to respect me. And I think that's true of everybody. Again, goes back to if we all had that same mentality, if we all respected one another, regardless of what we thought, felt, believed. Because again, as Mr. Lockett mentioned, there are definitely changes that have happened in 10 years, scouting, not scouting, doesn't matter what you're talking about, that I'm not going to agree with, that he's not going to agree with, that Ms. Tunstall, and we've all got our we've all got our own opinions, and we all have the right to those opinions. But she has the right to her opinion without me criticizing her for her opinion. And the same thing for him, the same thing for you, even as a child, even as a teenager, even as a young adult, you have the right. But even respect works both ways. So I have to respect you for having your opinion, but you also have to tell me your opinion respectfully. You can't be my way is the right way, and that's just how it's going to be.
Would you like to add on to that, Mrs. James?
I agree with everything that has been said prior. I would say that in designing the diversity training for adults, that they need to make sure that it's not just a training that deals with diversity as a catchphrase, but that they're really dealing with the issue of equity and justice in systems, that they're dealing with cultural intelligence, teaching people correct terms when we talk about respect, so that someone is not referring to another person's child as colored or Negro, so that we're using correct terms like Latinx versus Hispanic, that we're understanding why we don't use the old terms and why the new terms are more respectful, because yes, it all does boil down to respect, and understanding that differences are normal and differences are okay. And yes, I agree, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. However, we do need to make sure we educate people about respect.
Thank you so much. And leading right out of that, in celebration of Black History Month, woohoo, who is your favorite African American / Black icon?
There are too many that are plastered in the headlines and even the unsung heroes of our community. But if I had to say my top, out of in the top 5 that are just always in the back of my mind, role models, President Barack Hussein Obama. That man was calm, cool, and collected throughout his whole 8 years himself with that Black excellence. It's amazing to see. As a young child, he influenced me greatly. Him, my dad, and my pastor were the 3 main blocks that made me the person I am today. When I saw my pastor come to church in a suit, saw my dad get dressed for work, and I see President Barack Obama in that suit, it gave me the identity to say, wow, that's clean, that's amazing, like that. And even beyond the physical perspective of it, the way President Barack Obama carried himself, even throughout all the nasty, undeserved things that they said about him in the media, in my community, you drive around, you see flags, people with the Curious George, because President Barack Obama has big ears, they would say he looks like a monkey, all these things, banging him, bashing him. He still was strong, he still represented America, and he was still a model citizen. And that really shows his character. And Michelle Obama, amazing woman, her quote, "When they go low, we go high," is stuck with me till this day.
I like what you said. I really don't want to do this, but I have to do this by Boy Scout rules. Boy Scouts of America does not endorse Barack Hussein Obama as a president, nor do they specifically endorse any of his laws or anything. That is a personal opinion, and that opinion does not represent Boy Scouts of America. I just have to get that disclaimer out there. But thank you.
My favorite is probably Martin Luther King. So what's yours?
Outside of our family, because we have so many people that are Black history. Yeah, my dad is one of them. That's who he just whispered. My cousins, my pastor. Yes, Malaki one day is definitely going to be one. But for me, it was Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson, the first Black baseball player from out the Negro League that actually went to the Major League Baseball. And to me, even though he wasn't advertised as a scout, and I haven't really done a whole lot of research, I don't think he was a scout. He really showed a scouting spirit on the way he handled everything with actually going into the major leagues. And so that's who my favorite's always been.
I'll second Malaki. For me, Martin Luther King. And for me, it's that that reminder that we can do things peacefully. We can march, we can protest, we can boycott, we can do it without violence, we can do it with respect and dignity. Exactly what we've been talking here tonight. To me, that respect, and to me, that's what he symbolizes, is respect.
Martin Luther King was actually a Boy Scout. I have a trivia question about him for the special giveaways for those who are interested, but he was actually a Boy Scout.
Caden, I don't know if you knew, and I don't. Maybe I should look at your question. It may not. I may go with your question. I don't know. But the Aaron, the guy that just died, he was a Boy Scout. The baseball player, he was a Boy Scout, and when he graduated from high school, Martin Luther King actually sat with his family because they knew each other through scouting.
So for me, being in the military, of course, I go with General Colin Powell. I build my leadership style, and what I do today, I build it around him. Phenomenal leader. That the basis of his leadership was always to put people first, and that is definitely my leadership principle. I don't just see a soldier when I go to work every day. I actually see a mom, a dad, and working in a training environment, I see someone's son and daughter, and that's very passionate for me. So my leadership, my entire leadership base is built around General Colin Powell and taking care of people. What you got?
For me, I agree with Levi, former President Barack Obama, because, like he said, he was just so calm and collected, and he was funny, and it was just so cool to see someone that looked like me in the highest office of the United States of America.
Oh, oh my gosh. All right. So, oh, I'm so sorry.
It just took me a while. It just took me a while. I'm trying to compose myself. I've been battling a migraine all day, so please bear with me. But I do have one, and there's so many people throughout American history that we could look at to hold up for greatness in all areas and fields of science, mathematics, research. But for me, I would say if I had to pick one, I would pick Whoopi Goldberg. And I know, like, people, Whoopi Goldberg, what did she do? I would pick Whoopi Goldberg because as a Black woman, she has overcome so much adversity. She struggled as a student, as a young child. She struggled with learning. I don't want to say learning disability. I want to say she learned differently. And so she struggled with that, but she overcame that. She overcame homelessness. She overcame racism. One of the things I liked about her, she didn't let anybody tell her who she is or who she could be. She would audition for roles that were, when the script came out, the audition piece for the role would say, we're looking for someone with blonde hair, blue eyes, that's X many pounds. And she would audition for the role anyway, even though she did not fit the description. And she would get the part. She dared to be herself. And for that reason, I choose Whoopi Goldberg.
Thank you. That is actually that's interesting because, like you said, I would have never thought of Whoopi Goldberg as the first person to go into your brain as that as your favorite African American icon. But when you started to explain, and she's definitely up there. She's definitely has had a huge impact on today, and the things that she's done and the challenges that she has faced are definitely somebody that's definitely represent her and the struggle that she's gone through, and that I think that she is a really good person. I thank you for sharing that piece of knowledge. Does she have a book or autobiography?
Not to my knowledge, but one is probably on the horizon.
I definitely would like to read something. I'm definitely going to look her up after that. Thank you so much. My next question is for the parents. Would you encourage other parents to put their children into scouting?
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Yes.
My next question is actually for the scouts. What have you learned from scouting that you used outside of scouting?
Well, NYLT, National Youth Leadership Training. Wait, actually, I forgot the camera's inverted. Up right there. It, that is a scouting program for young scouts, and you could go, you get trained, and you come back, you bring those skills to your troop. Some things I learned from that program were the different phases of just group activity in general, and it gave me a deeper insight on how people interact with each other. The storming and norming of groups and the forming, and I used that in school with my group projects. We had this one project, they elected me as leader, and I used those tools that I learned from NYLT to notice when we were storming. So when I saw some tension rising, I would crack a joke, or I would tell somebody, "Hey, good job, man," because recognition is an important part of being a leader. Making sure that people know that they're appreciated. Another thing I learned from NYLT was servant leadership. You don't just sit on your high horse and you scream your orders. You get down to the trenches with them. You dig the hole, and you say, "I'm here with you. Let's get this done." And so those are some good skills that I still use to this day in scouting and outside of scouting.
Something you use outside of scouting. Book. Okay.
The next question will be for Levi James. What is it like trying to advance while being virtual, and would you say it is harder or easier?
Well, personally, advancing I got my life rank um, while we were virtual, and advancement has been in some ways easier, in some ways harder. I know personally, since I'm not in the younger scouts having to do knots, and that would be hard to do virtually. But my experience has been pretty well for this far. Um, I'm working on my Eagle project, like I stated earlier, and all that networking I could do online. I fill out my document, the workbook online. I can email that to my scoutmaster. He could review it, and so it's working out pretty well. And so merit badges are also offered in my troop. My scoutmaster, the assistant scoutmaster, sorry, he does communication, and a couple other do family life and other Eagle required merit badges like cooking. So it's very useful to have those in the troop and be able to do that meeting virtually and share those skills.
For all of the scouts, what other activities are you involved in other than scouting, and how do you balance such a busy schedule?
I do things in the church sometimes, and I'm also normally part of the theater group in my school. And I let my parents deal with it.
I love to say my mom is my manager.
Well, he did have a period of time while he was in that play that you mentioned during the bio. He was part of the play, and the play practice just so happened to be twice a week. One of the two just happened to be the troop meeting night. And that meant for 8 weeks. Was it 8 weeks? 12 weeks? I mean, 2 or 3 months, he missed every single troop meeting. When it comes to sports, if there's more practices, you can because he used to do that too. You could kind of miss a sports practice this week, miss the troop meeting next week. You could kind of balance it out. But when there's only 2 a week, you kind of feel like you have to be at both. But that's the nice thing about the troop or troops in general is it's okay. It's go at your own pace. You can continue to work on your merit badges. You can continue to work on your rank advancements, even if you're not at the troop meeting. Because the troop campouts, those fell on weekends. So he could make every single one of those. So he could still talk to a scoutmaster. He could still, get sign-offs. He could still do everything else. So it's a matter of balancing. And again, knowing that a sports activity doesn't go all year. I don't care what sport you play, there's a season. And scouts is still there when that season is over. That's what we like to remind our scouts about all the time is you do not have to give up scouting because you want to play baseball or because you want to play football, or you can do both. And from the other side of that, you don't want a scout to feel like they have to choose. Because unfortunately, I think if you tell somebody you have to pick me or them, they're going to choose them just because I'm the one making you choose. So I truly believe if you can work around it, support them, you've certainly got a better chance of keeping them.
I'm actually kind of in that same predicament now. I've not been able to go to any of the scout meetings for the past few months. I saw the James unmuted themselves. Would you like to?
Oh yeah. I was just gonna say. Previously, I stated I played football, and we had practice every day from 6 to 8, and I was at one practice on a Tuesday. And with the other sports and band activities, I'm in the marching band, and those really very time consuming, and but you kind of find a way to juggle it in time management and making sure your grades are up and making sure that you still do yours. And when if any you're 15 and you can get a job, making sure that you can still get your job and do your service hours for your honor societies, and it's all about responsibility and taking that next step into adulthood. Because as an adult, your credit is not going to give you an excuse for missing the payment. You just get the late fee. So it teaches us responsibility and how to time manage.
I like what you said about being your manager. I think that's so true for many moms and dads. They're kind of like the you guys are superstars, and mom and dad are your manager, and they help you to learn those time management skills. And I also found as a parent that when children are involved in multiple activities, and it keeps one being involved in multiple activities keeps them out of trouble, keeps them focused, and it forces them to develop time management skills. So that you find that students that are involved in multiple activities tend to be better students overall. And as a parent, three children, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm really battling the migraine. I have 3 children. They're all 5 years old, but because I've kept them involved in multiple activities, they have all been excellent students. Honor roll, distinguished honor roll, scholarships, rights to college. I hope that this young man, I hope he will follow in those footsteps before him. But I think that it's okay to to learn early how to manage your time.
Anybody else like to add on? Well, all right. Thank you to all of the panelists. We are done with all of the Q&A questions. If any of the members of the audience or people that are viewing this have any questions, please put them in the comments. If not, we will go ahead and move forward with the trivia questions. Also, if any of the panelists have questions for other panelists, you can ask them now.
I don't have a question per se, but I do just want to put out, and I do want to at least let the audience know that about the National Catholic, about my Catholic program, which is a program that I think go hand in hand with Boy Scouts. Catholic League itself focuses strictly on leadership, and it focuses strictly on honing.
Excuse me, sir. I don't mean to cut you off. Is it possible that you could private chat me a little bit about Kappa League or a small mission statement so I can put it in the comments because your audio is going in and out?
Okay, will do.
Oh, well, I heard you perfectly then. I just heard you perfectly then.
Nope, too easy. Hey, I'm dropping the website. They can go to that website and it'll have all the information there.
Okay. So Kappa League, go ahead and check that out. I know that Malaki and I are involved in Kappa League, and it is a great program, and you should definitely check it out. It is very interesting, and you learn a lot. I know Kappa League, currently we are actually doing a debate competition, and it has been a great experience, and it's something that boys can learn from. It's awesome. So definitely check that program out. The reason I put my email, the answer to the trivia questions, you can go ahead and send those to my email so I can go ahead and give you your special giveaway if you get the trivia questions correct. So let me go ahead, and this is Kappa League's URL. Go ahead and check it out and see what it's about. It's a great program.
No.
And some people are saying hi. Gabe Itch, I think. She said hello to all of the panelists. Kai Jefford, he also said hello.
This copy.
Oh, yes.
And I just want to say thank you to the audience members for watching and sitting through all of this. It is greatly appreciated. So the first Q&A question, well, the first trivia question for the special giveaway, make sure you send your answers to GraysonFamily5@verizon.net, is who was the first Black Eagle Scout? If any of the panelists know it, you could also, especially you scouts are eligible for the special giveaway as well. So just go ahead and send it to my email. Miss Rose has a message in the chat for all of the audience members. If you are scouts, definitely check out Miss Rose, what I just put. I'll pin it to the screen. This is Mrs. Rose information. If you would like her for a pray program, merit badges, and anything, you can definitely contact her. You can email at GraysonFamily5@verizon.net, and I'll definitely put you in touch with her.
You already got that?
I have first aid. I mean,
Gabe
yeah. Well,
Gabe Itch specifically said, "Hey, Chris." Do you know him by chance?
Sure. I don't know who that is.
Well,
Oh, I was on mute.
That's why I'm trying not to laugh because I know you had said All right. So the next question, everybody have the first question down? I'll go through them again. Which president was an Eagle Scout? The third question is, what troop was Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. a member of? I will repeat. What troop was Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. a member of? Hello, Kai Jeffers. Hello, Kai Jefford. Oh, wow. So Kai Jefford is actually from Troop 546 of West County, California. So hello, all the way. All of us are actually on the East Coast in Virginia, but hello, all the way from Virginia. Hi. That's cool. The fourth question is, which USA astronaut and Eagle Scout was the first African American in space? I will repeat, which USA astronaut and Eagle Scout was the first African American in space? Oh, Kai Jefford. My email should be on the screen. If you know the answer or if you think you know the answer, send it to that email. But since you seem like the only person in the comments that you can put it in the comments. And then you can just email me your address if you get it correct. The fifth question is, which African American U.S. representative from Georgia was an Eagle Scout? Which African American U.S. representative from Georgia was an Eagle Scout? I received your email, CJ Lockett, and I'll be getting back with you as soon as this is over. The final question, if you have Facebook, you might actually have heard about this, but who was the first African American female Eagle Scout in Northwest Indiana? Who was the first African American female Eagle Scout in Northwest Indiana? I will go through all of the questions one last time. Number 1, who was the first Black Eagle Scout? Number 2, which president was an Eagle Scout? Number 3, what troop was Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. a member of? Number 4, which USA astronaut and Eagle Scout was the first African American in space? Number 5, which African American U.S. representative from Georgia was an Eagle Scout? And number 6, who was the first African American female Eagle Scout in Northwest Indiana? You have a fan, Mr. Chris, Mr. Lockett. Well, all right. If you need me to repeat the question, just go ahead and put that in the comments. But other than that, do any of the panelists have any final remarks? Would they like to recruit for their pack or troop? Anything that you would like to add?
I want to say one thing. I want to apologize. I gave wrong information earlier. It wasn't Hank Aaron that Martin Luther King went to the high school graduation for. It was actually Ernest Green of the Little Rock Nine. I did a brief PowerPoint at Roundtable earlier this month, and I did it on both of them. So I'm sorry. But I do want to apologize that I did give out that wrong information. Hank Aaron, yes, was a Boy Scout. But Ernest Green of the Little Rock Nine had Martin Luther King at his high school graduation. But other than that, Caden, I want to thank you for allowing us to participate. This was fun. We really enjoyed it, and I hope you continue with it.
Thank you so much for being a part of this. Oh, sorry. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey. To all of the panelists, you guys have done so well, and I thank you so much.
Yeah, we thank you as well, Caden. Thank you for the opportunity to join you, to meet new families that are involved in scouting. I've learned a lot from each and every one of your panelists today. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yep, I just want to say thank you to Caden for putting it together, but also to all the other scouts and parents that are here as well.
Absolutely. Great job, Caden. And this was a great forum. A lot of great questions being asked. I see the little fan group down there. Hopefully it's the right Chris. I'm gonna go ahead and take credit for it, even if it's not. But all right.
Yes, and thank you for the viewers. You guys have been very active in the comments. Thank you so much. All of your support is very appreciated. And actually, because you guys are watching, and it's not that many of you, go ahead and email me your address, and I will go ahead and send you the special giveaway to all of the viewers. So let me pin my email. Let me go ahead and pin my email, and to everyone that is watching, go ahead and send me your address, and I will give you I'll give you the special giveaway. Thank you guys so much. But thank you guys so much for all that you guys have done. You have really been a huge part of this. And I think my parents are watching. I'm going to go ahead and add you onto the stream if you would like to say anything. Are they there? Well, but yes, there is a giveaway. It's a special giveaway. I'll pretty much tell you what it is. They are vintage patches granted to us by Heart of Virginia Council. So here are some of them right here. I don't know, can you see it? Okay. This one is from 2008, so I don't think it's that old. So yeah, go ahead and everyone in the comments or everyone that is watching, my email is pinned to the screen. Go ahead and send me your address and I will go ahead and send these patches over to you. Thank you so much for watching. The comments really like you, Chris. They really do. Well, all right. So thank you so much. I'm gonna pin the email one last time. I thank everyone for coming out and supporting. So yeah. Bye. Panelists, could you stay after a little bit, but I'm gonna go ahead and end the broadcast. Thank you so much to everyone. Again, that is my email in the comments. Go ahead and send over your address and I'll give you the patches. But I think it is time to go. Bye.